I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie. In this podcast, we talk about the joys of motherhood as well as the experiences that have altered us along the way.
We've created a safe space to talk about the hard and unconventional alongside the beauty, and we want you to feel confident in the decisions that you make as a mother.
Welcome to the Motherhood Collective Co.
Let's talk.
Welcome back to the Motherhood Collective Co.
Welcome.
If you hear us chewing, it's because we have chocolate sourdough.
Amanda's delicious sourdough.
Seriously, the best sourdough I've ever had in my life. This recipe. This is like my
I'm so
fourth
excited.
or fifth time making it. I'm trying to like perfect it so that I can give it to people for Christmas instead of Christmas cookies.
How do you make it chocolate and chocolate chips?
Well, chocolate, when I'm mixing the dough, it's got cacao.
Gosh, yum.
Chocolate
like a
chips I put in
treat.
the stretch and folds. I know it's like a brownie. Mm-hmm. It's like a bread version of brownies.
Yum.
Okay, I know I'm going to get 5 million requests for the recipe. I just wrote it down, actually. I am kind of finagling with the cook time, though.
So yummy. This is
So
perfect. Good. Yeah, I'm going to be chomping the whole episode.
We thought, we had a lot of feedback on our last episode because we were so opinionated. Honestly, though, I was way less opinionated than I am in my head. Just so you know, I'm not opinionated out loud, but in my head, I'm royal opinionated. We just want to kind of do a follow-up episode to that.
Yeah.
And it's going to be fast and short, but I feel like the vibe online, it's funny because Brady came home last night. And I was just telling Jessie, I spent like 5.5 hours on my phone yesterday. Yesterday was the day after the election when we woke up and found that Donald Trump is the 47th.
So you didn't stay up all night?
No, we stayed till like 10 and I'm like, this is not going anywhere. I'm so tired. And when he came home, I'm like, so how's your social media today? And he's like, it's fine. Everybody's great. And I was like, oh, because people on my feed are shaving their heads and dressing up like the Handmaid's Tale. So he's like, what?
I have to admit, I didn't see that.
Yeah, no, I have. Well, I feel like because I started like my Instagram page, I turned it public a couple years ago and I was going to try and like do a blog. Mm-hmm. So I got on those loops where you like, I don't know. It's like those Instagram pages where it's like you all follow each other.
Okay, yes.
Yes. So I'm following like a lot of people that
you wouldn't normally.
I wouldn't normally. And I don't normally see their stuff, or I would have like unfollowed them. I saw a lot of their stuff.
All I have been seeing is, sorry if you're watching online, I'm like so itchy right now because I just came from getting my kids' haircuts. And I have to like
Tiny hairs poking in.
I have to like hold Ledger in his little seat.
Oh yeah, how's he do with that?
He does okay, but like the seatbelt doesn't hold them up. There's nothing going between their legs, so he could just slip right under into the
Did you take him next up to that
little
place
truck
next to Target?
Yeah. They're like shaving his little head and all the hairs are just covering me in it. They're like poking me all over. And so I'm just very itchy right now. Is this what it's like to have a dog that sheds?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All I've seen on my feed are people crying, saying that they're losing all of their rights.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think what's really hard for me is that there is zero, I don't even know what the word is, education, awareness, truth behind those statements.
But
because
I have a lot of empathy. Like when I see someone's crying, it hurts my heart. So like I try to put myself in these people's position where they legitimately feel terrified. They woke
but that's
up
the
and
thing
feel
is like,
scared.
but it's not in the ways that they like, sure, be upset that that who you voted for did not win. Mm-hmm. But I think what I am having a hard time with is like, they're crying over things that are not changing.
I know, but I think they think it is.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm like, where's the missing piece? Because abortion rights have been left up to the state. That has nothing to do with Trump being in office or not in office. He has taken a stand and said that he will make it mandatory for businesses to fund IVF for their employees. Mm-hmm. So he's obviously for that.
He also just appointed the first woman ever to be chief of staff, which is like a really big deal.
Yes. He has never said that he would ban any sort of interracial marriage. He has like, I guess I'm just feeling like very confused by it. I'm like,
People
that's fine
think
if you're...
He's like, have you heard of Project 2025?
Yes, which is not even true.
Yeah, people, because he's like listed 300 times or something in there. And so people think that, my lash thinks that that's what's happening. Like when I'm in her chair, she's telling me she's thinking that's what's happening. Which,
And
like, if that's what you think is happening, I am so sorry that you're feeling so scared. I hope within like 6 months you realize, whew, it's all going to be okay. Calm down.
I think I've just also like watched a lot of videos of people on the left coming forward and saying like, okay, like there is still good that's going to take place, and it didn't look the way that we wanted to, sure. But I mean, I can stand behind this and be like, I know that in 4 years our economy is going to be better. I know that our borders are going to be closed. I know that our food industry is going to be completely torn to shreds and rebuilt from the ground up in a way that it should have been, and always should have stayed that way. I know sex trafficking will be tackled and will be down. I know war will be at peace. I know.
Well, you heard about all of the things happening with all of the countries all over the world today,
Yes.
right? Like people coming forward and congratulating him and like making peace and yeah.
Because other world leaders, they do respect and fear him. And there is like that healthy level of like, they know that he's not going to stand for some of the stuff that's been transpiring. So I guess like I know that our last episode was like a lot of our opinions, and I have a few things to say about that because I listened to it back. I didn't sound how I would normally sound on a podcast. I feel like there was a lot of things going on in my personal life that I didn't share that were going on that were really hard for me. So I think I like was just in a weird place. But also I think when we look at this kind of stuff through individual worldviews, and I know that you said this, but like perspective is everything. Yeah. And when somebody's sharing their opinion, it's based in like a reality that only they have walked through, and therefore they have like sourced an opinion based on that. And I shared this on our Instagram page and then I deleted it, but because I wasn't sure if I wanted to have more conversations than I already was. I said that I actually used to vote blue. I registered Democrat. My whole family is, my whole extended family is, like, that's where I've come from and that's what I've always known. And I think something that switched for me was like kind of around COVID when I was having my miscarriages. There was a big, right at the exact same time, there was a big like argument. Was it Roe v. Wade? Was that when that was going on? So I'm sitting there bleeding, grieving, losing a baby, not doing well. Getting online to read that from a lot of people close to me in my life, that babies are just clumps of cells. They're not babies at all. They have no soul. They have no life. They are pointless, meaningless things. Right. So therefore, I had no reason to be bawling my eyes out on my bathroom floor, going to the ER for all these different reasons. And it felt like, I don't know how to even put the words to how I felt when I was already in this bubble of grief, and I log online to read that from people that I used to trust and respect, all in the name of politics. It was like, that was a really big turning point for me. And I was like, I don't like that. And why are their, voices so loud?
I grew up on a farm on 180 acres and a town that's got like 500 people in it. Well, the town I actually grew up in had 1,500 people in it, but the town where my parents live now have about 500 people in it. My grandpa was a farmer, a hardworking man, Vietnam War veteran, and I grew up like listening to politics at the table. And then I came to Colorado, and I don't think in my early 20s I considered myself very political. Like, I really don't. I didn't care who was president because I've always kind of been in the mindset of like, it doesn't really affect me. I know better now, but like back then it was just like, whatever. It's not my immediate world, whatever. Whoever it is, I'm just going to prepare for who's president. I'm not going to care too much about who it is. And then Brady and I opened this business. It's our only means to feed our family. And we're doing fine. Like, we just started. It wasn't like we were flying off the handle with money by any means. We were living in a 600 square apartment. And then our government told us we couldn't go to work for like a month. Legitimately shut our doors down, stripped away every ounce of freedom we had my husband and I terrified on if we would be able to pay our bills and feed our son. And then I started caring a lot about politics, quietly. But that will just always be an underlying fear I have of the government. I will always be of the opinion that less government is more, that we live in America and we should have freedom to do within obviously a certain bounds of the Constitution what we want. And I don't honestly care if that's left or right or blue or red, as long as I have more freedom. That's where I'm going to go to. And you know what really won me over on this whole campaign was RFK.
Yeah.
Who was a Democrat, and that came over because he was going to have my vote. If the Democratic Party would have grabbed him for primary, he would have had my vote 100%. But he moved over, and he still had my vote, because the thing that gets me is that every single day walking into a grocery store, it's like fighting a battle to keep my children healthy.
Truly.
And
A
not
losing
just
battle.
that, but drinking water,
breathing air,
wearing clothes, sleeping in our beds is just constant battle and constant underlying worry of when am I going to have cancer? It's not really like if I'm going to have cancer, it's when is it going to happen? And so to finally hear someone say like, I'm brave enough to stand up to big pharma and to all of these companies who care more about profits than people, I'm brave enough to stand up for them, like gave me so much hope.
Yeah. And I guess like to your point and to my previous point, the reason that I say the backstory is because it's really easy to like hop on a one-off podcast and make a bunch of assumptions about why somebody is the way that they are and why, you know, all of the things. But I think, you know, to actually look at individual human beings and say like, wow, they probably have a lot of layers behind why there is that kind of passion and that kind of tone being spoken through their teeth about these certain topics. And I don't know. I feel like the overwhelming majority of people who listen to our podcast were like really encouraging.
Yeah, like we're glad to hear someone actually talk about this. Yeah. But there were people, and I don't know if you saw, I responded to a message. I know you responded to a messenger too about people unfollowing. You don't like women. You don't care about women.
I just responded to one person who said like, I just don't, she was like very like sweet, humble. She was like, I just like don't.
That was on our story.
Am I missing something?
No,
like, why am I voting?
Mean.
Yeah. She's like, why, like, what is it with Trump? Why are there so many people voting for him? And that's what, if you guys saw on our stories, that I responded and just encouraged her to look beyond the person. Like, we're not trying to vote a perfect person into office. We're trying to vote policies into office that will protect and restore our country.
And also we're voting through our worldview. And that's what I just keep thinking about with all of my friends who voted for Kamala and who are still upset for whatever reason they're upset. I just keep feeling like they voted with their best heart. They voted with the knowledge that they had, the worldview that they had, and they deserve grace as they grieve, and they deserve kindness. And I also think that people who voted Trump deserve the same thing. And I think that by arguing and fighting and calling each other awful women, we're doing nothing but, I don't know, being anti-feminist, which is what everyone's calling us, right? You're being anti-feminist by like tearing apart other women for using their right to vote. And the Holistic Mother, who I just freaking love her account. She just posted something today and it said, people love it when, or other women love it when women use their power to vote, their freedoms to vote, except, or only if you're voting progressive. That's not okay. That is not okay. That's not how change happens. That's not how things get better. You don't scream and yell and bash each other for utilizing our right to vote. It's not okay. I don't know. I feel like it's been really hard to watch other women just attack each other online. And it's funny because like Brady said, Instagram is not like that big with men. Not that people aren't on it, but, and as we'll talk about in our next episode, like the book we're reading, Anxious Generation, the book we just read talks a lot about how men and women interact differently on social media and how it affects them differently. And you know what's interesting? In the book, it talks about historically, not just since social media, women have been known to have social diseases. Did you get to that part? So what they're talking about is like back before phones, back before anything. Like women in a village, one would come down with hysteria. They would all come down with hysteria. We very much see other women going through things and take it upon ourselves and go through the same thing. So they're called social diseases. And it's just interesting because he talked about that on social media, how true that still is, about how women will get on and they talk about their depression, their anxiety, and all of their followers start feeling an increase in depression and anxiety. We are very influenced by people online.
Interesting.
So to see all these people like shaving their head and crying and sobbing, it makes me wonder how much hysteria is happening because somebody is hysteric online. Does that make sense? Am I making a point there?
Yeah.
Okay.
1,000%. Yeah. And then I caught wind of like a very passive aggressive Facebook post.
Yes, you sent that to me, and ick.
And what's ironic is that's the same person who made me feel those ways when I was having that miscarriage. And so I think like there's also this level of, oh shoot, is your
Brady's home?
okay. I think there's also this level of like, I don't know, compassion and kindness that needs to stem from, sorry, I like, even if it's not my baby, when a baby cries, it like erases my whole brain.
Just checking that Brady's home. He got home 12 minutes ago and he shut the door, so he's got her.
Yeah, I kind of forget what I was just trying to say. I just think the compassion, the kindness needs to go both ways, and the assumptions are not helpful. And if there is a level of like, I do not agree with this person on like fundamental levels, then maybe like you need to guard your heart and your mind. And if you feel like you cannot operate within the bounds of relationship with someone who believes differently than you, then guard your heart and your mind, and you can make that peaceful little bubble for yourself online or in real life, whatever. I'm personally not that kind of person. I love being around people who believe differently than me. I think it not only helps me like learn and grow, but it also helps me solidify my beliefs, because I don't think you really know what you believe until you learn what other people believe too. Like at CCU, Colorado Christian University, we had to take a world religions course. So we learned about every single religion on the face of the planet. And I think part of their mentality behind that was to just like, you need to be able to like know why you believe what you believe, you know? And I think the same could be said about politics or anything else that like really matters to you. It's like, decide whether or not you have the capacity to be around people who think differently than you. And then if you don't, then maybe don't come listen. Like if you know you don't agree with us, maybe don't come listen to our podcast.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Maybe don't follow us on Instagram, you know? Like I think there's an issue with like intentionally seeking something out knowing you're going to be pissed off about it.
Yeah.
And I'm still referencing the passive aggressive Facebook post. Yes. And so I don't know. I think that's probably a good rule of thumb. Just agree to disagree and choose kindness and compassion, or just know that like that's a hard boundary for you. You don't want to consume that kind of content, and then like just let it go.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I have a friend on Facebook who just made this big long post about how she's been, because she was openly talking about who she was voting for on her Facebook page, and how she's had people tell her she's a bad mother. She's can't believe that she has a daughter, commenting on her family pictures saying gross, like really like bullying. That's bullying. It's not cool. It wasn't cool when we were teenagers. It's not cool now. And I'm just like, my mind cannot wrap around the mentality you have to be in to do that.
Yeah.
To anybody. I don't know. I'm just feeling kind of sad about it, because like in my head, I've spent a lot of time the last 48 hours putting myself in other people's shoes. Like they're feeling scared. In their head, they have a legitimate reason to feel scared. I feel so sad for them that they woke up today, I felt was a safer place to be.
Yeah.
And they felt was like a place that was going to attack and overturn them and turn them into a fictional TV series where we all wear red coats and get raped every day. Like,
yeah.
I hate that people are feeling that way. And I hope that.
And I don't know who we have to blame aside from like mainstream media for demonizing
mainstream
like,
media and like the crazy social media influencers that these women are following that are telling them that.
I mean, yeah, there's just like, there's a polarization and there's like a demonization of the things that are just like completely non-existent. And yeah, I mean, the reason that one of the biggest reasons why I flipped from being a Democrat to being a Republican is I sat through COVID and we were shut down as a country.
Yeah.
And we were on our TV every day waiting for Trump to tell us we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I really spent that whole year just like taking in, because I had always heard who he was. I was like, I don't like that person. Nope, he's nasty. Yeah. He's this. I don't like this. I don't like this. But then I actually went beyond the surface and I started listening to podcasts that were unedited and unfiltered. And I was starting to listen to, different outlets where I could actually get to know his policies and who he is as a human, other than just some racist, homophobic, awful white supremacist, you know? And because we had all of that time during COVID, I was like, wait, I feel like I've been lied to a little bit.
Yeah.
With how that I thought that things were. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying everybody needs to like completely reconstruct what they believe, but I think there is a time and a place to come back, whether that be, like I said, religion, politics, anything else, to be like, wait a second, what if I've been lied to? What if this isn't all that we thought it was? Mm-hmm. And like ask those really hard questions, dive into it. You will find answers. And I guarantee to the person crying on the internet, you will feel better. Mm-hmm. Like I really believe you will feel better. And
please, if you haven't listened to, the Joe Rogan and Trump podcast was good, but the Joe Rogan and JD Vance podcast, JD Vance, our new vice president-elect, like that, listening to him talk on that podcast, if you're feeling scared, will make you feel so much better. Yeah. He's like a nice, good guy who's young. And I've always like been so confused why we have a bunch of 80-year-olds running our country. And I know Trump is almost 80. Yeah. It's still bizarre to me. But when we have now a vice president coming into the White House who has young children, that's who we need. He actually cares what the country looks like in 20 years.
And that's the thing, is like beyond all of the things that you've heard, it's like when you get to the heart of a person who is actually fighting for our country. Like, and that's the thing that like, say what you want to say about our current president at this point, but like what I can say without hesitation, that he loves America and that he would risk his life, and his life would be put in danger almost like 2 inches from killing him. And he will stand up with a fist in the air and fight and still run for president, knowing exactly what's on the line. Like, and I think listening to that podcast is a good idea because it just humanizes him. Like,
it does, 100%.
He loves being the president, and he loves Americans. And no, he's not perfect in his speech, and he's not eloquent in his language, and he's not all of the blah, blah, blah,
he's
blah.
not a politician.
But if you look in the Bible, there's a lot of people who weren't very eloquent in their language and weren't very good people, and like disobeyed God and went their own ways. And I just feel like that is the perfect recipe for the Lord to work and move through somebody. Yeah. So I think that anybody pointing fingers should also take a hard look at themselves. And I was kind of like, talk about putting yourself in other people's shoes. I was putting myself in his shoes, and I have no business or desire to ever run for president in the United, ever. But what I started thinking about is being in that kind of spotlight and the things that people could dig up on me. The old tweets, the old messages, the old stories from high school, all of the old people coming, oh, I used to know her, and like, who knows? Like, no, then I say that to say, like, you are not without fault. Like, everybody has their past and their history and the things that like maybe they regret saying or doing, or maybe the current things. Like, there's things on our podcast last week that I probably like wouldn't say again, but I was just like, I was having a really rough week, and I was fed up with feeling like I was backed into a corner and having to defend myself. And I think that just like makes everybody more human. He's not any less human than we are. And so like, talk about like, I don't know, love and respect and empathy. It's like, it goes to everyone,
Yeah, I agree.
So
I agree. And I don't know. I'm also very confused at what people thought were going to change if the person who's been in the White House for the last 4 years was in the White House again. The people that have had control over America for 12 of the last 16 years were in control again. Because when I was listening to her concession speech, it was like, sorry, we missed the mark and I can't help you now, but keep hoping maybe I'll help you again in 4 years. You haven't been helping us.
I know.
I don't know. It's all very strange. It's all very strange. It's all very sad. Just, I
just think a lot of times people are just like driven by their emotion rather than just the practical, logical reasonings behind things.
But no matter what, we do have a new president, and whether you're for or against, and I would have done this if Kamala won that race too, is just be praying for our new president and be united as a country under our president, the president of the United States. Because you know what's not helpful is like interfering with his job. You know what I mean? Like tearing him down and indicting and all of these things that just like make him not be able to focus on what he's there to do. So which is just like really sad, because you just kind of know that's coming after what happened to him last time. I don't know. I just feel like we should all be praying for a country. We should all be praying for a president. We should all be kind to our neighbors, regardless of their political affiliation. Like, what a ridiculous thing to be mean to somebody for. And know and understand that people are good. Like, honestly.
Yeah, most of the time.
People, I know, but people, like, we all have the light of Christ in us. People are inherently good, and that's my belief on the world. And I just think that people do things out of the goodness of their heart, whether it's the same thing that you would do in that situation or not. Most of the time people do things out of the goodness out of their heart. So just like I don't know, look at people outside when you're walking around, and just like have good intentions or good assumptions, I guess. Assume the
I think
best.
there's something to be said about like asking the Lord for, like, I do this all the time with people that I'm struggling with. It's like, ask the Lord to give you vision for how he sees them.
Yeah.
Say you're fighting with your husband. Ask the Lord how he sees your husband. Say your kid is just like driving you nuts in the grocery store. Ask the Lord to give you his vision, you know. Or you say you're feeling really misunderstood by some random stranger online. Ask the Lord to give you his vision. And I feel like that always brings me back to a place, because like, I don't know, I teeter between like, I don't believe people are inherently good. I feel like babies are inherently good. And then I feel like the world of sin takes over. And it's like this constant battle to choose to do the right thing, you know? And I see like, I don't know. I'm a little more skeptical than like everybody's always like having good intentions. I feel like I'm more so like,
not always, but I just like to think
struggling
that way.
with no. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think it's a beautiful way to think. I'm just being honest. I don't always see it the same way. I feel like a little bit more skeptical, I guess. And I've always been a little bit more like, I think in like a self-protection mode of like, I don't know, people, you know. And I think part of that is like how my dad raised me, and it's not even in a negative way, but he just always like really had me stay on guard against a lot of different things, like boys that were not good for me, or girls that were not good friends, or I don't know. I think I just always entered into those really like situations a little bit more skeptical, but praying that the Lord would give me, you know, insight. Like what we talked about with that nasty person. I was like, pray that the Lord will just highlight them to you, you know, because he like cares about us more than anyone else could, you know. And if that's somebody that you're going to come across, like just pray that he would just be like, that's the person, spend less time with them, you know. Like, I don't know, I just
that one
I feel like he is the one like fighting for our hearts and to keep us safe and to keep us protected and to guide us on the right path. And I don't know, I don't even remember why we were saying that, but
I don't know. You have any closing thoughts?
Just that if you're listening to this, just like remember that we're humans, and we, just to summarize what I just said, like we come at this from our own worldview. There's so much you guys know about us, but there's also so much you don't. And like I said, it's like, I think almost everybody who listened had a good experience, but I think it's important to keep in mind, like, we're going to have bad days. We're going to have bad weeks. We're going to have weeks where we're battling like really pending hard news, or we don't know where we're at, or we haven't slept, or our husbands
have a
like
pounding headache like I do right now.
Like today, like Chase has been working for like 72 hours straight at this point, almost. It's like not even exaggerating.
He's been plowing. Oh, I forgot he got the plows. Why didn't you tell me that?
I don't know. I've been in pure like get it done, survival mode. And then on top of that,
Jesse,
we are...
didn't you just yell at me for doing like the same thing?
I know, but then I'm like, okay, my sister and her whole family are coming in town to stay with us tomorrow. I have Ledger's birthday party on Saturday. We're leaving for Hawaii on Monday.
I would have cooked for you.
I don't have... I guess I just didn't... I think that's like... There's always more behind the scenes. That's what I want people to know. Is like there's always more behind the scenes. You don't get the full picture of who we are. And I just pray and hope that like what needs to be said will land. Mm-hmm. What doesn't won't. But I think that's a good thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. I do think that we are inherently good, me and Jesse. So please look upon us with honorable favor and know that our
honorable judgment is actually a very good principle. It's like a Jewish principle and it's amazing.
Yeah. That's kind of like how I want, like,
or it's called favorable judgment.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to like look at someone, and even though we're making a different choice, I just want to say like, you really think you're doing a good thing right now, which means you have a totally different viewpoint of the world than me.
I think that has more to say about you than it does about that person though. It's like you're extending an empathy and a grace to other people, and you're giving them that like favorable judgment, and that's so much like Christ. That's great.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
that was a great compliment.
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta go to our next episode before my head pops off of my body.
Did you take any medicine?
I did, but we'll see you next week.
Thank you for listening, and remember that you were chosen to be the mother of your children.
And you are exactly where you need to be.
See you next week.